Everybody, Will here from 1459 Studios. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Gear. Contrary to how we're looking right now, this episode is not sponsored by the Shred Den. It just happened. So here we are with
Dave Wichterman of Callus Soul.
All right. And just remember, Shred Den, pay us. All right, cool. Hey, Dave, tell us what's going on with the band.
We got a big show coming up in June on the 22nd with Black Flood Diesel, Derecho, Harsh Reality, and Madam Driver out of Mankato. Should be a good time. I think we're going to destroy the place.
Hey, you try, right?
Well, we don't try, we do.
Yeah, good. There is no try. There is no try. Well done, Yoda. So, and you just did an album not that long ago.
Recorded here at 1459 Studios.
Yeah. And are we doing a vinyl for this still, or just CD?
We were planning on it. We're planning on it, so just got to get a little money.
Yeah, it's all right. There's vinyl coming. All right, that makes me happy.
Hopefully with the endorsement from the Shred Den.
Yeah, Shred Den. Yeah, Shred Den's going to pay for the vinyls. It's going to be great. So, all right. So check out Callus Soul. We'll throw some links up here and at the back end of the video here and in the comments. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about some amps, shall we?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to talk about some amps. So Dave has the same problem with amplifiers and guitars that I have. It's just a different brand. So I buy things with Paul Reed Smith on it. He buys anything that Dean Zielinski has had something to do with at some point. So let's go ahead and talk about these amps. And keep in mind, you know more about these amps than anybody. So, go to town, have fun.
Yeah. This right here, the Diamond Nitrox, this is kind of my main puppy. I rock that for anything live and rhythms in the studio. It's meant for 7 and 8 string guitars. I play 6 strings. I don't down tune severely, but it's got such a tight bottom end that you're never going to flub out, and you can crank the bass and make up for the fact that it's kind of a brighter amp meant to handle the deeper tunings. But I don't like to roll onto my bass player's frequencies, so that amp comes in perfect. It's got just a nasty grind to it.
And after we recorded his amp here, I loved it so much that I bought one. So there you go. So 2 people that can vouch for it. It's a great amp. If you can find one used, it's a good deal. But if you want to get one new, pony up for it. They're pretty killer.
At $2,600.
Yep.
I don't turn my gain past 2 on mine.
Yeah.
I just put it at 2 and boost it. It's got a lot of grind.
Yeah. I've recorded stuff in A with mine, and I've recorded stuff in E flat. And it handles all the tunings really well. It's
kind of like a Marshall had knock the boots with a boogie.
Yeah.
Just a little hint of that boogie on the bottom end, but it doesn't get sloppy like the boogie or whatever. It just has that kind of tone or whatever.
It's not loose like a rectifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that likes to have 8 strings or 42 strings or whatever, that amp is never going to get muddy.
Nope.
And the louder you crank them, the better they sound. And then down here is the Hammersmith. This amp's kind of cool and it's hard to find. These amps were designed by a guy named Martin Golub. And Martin worked at Custom Audio Electronics, I think they were called, with John Suhr, Bob Bradshaw, and Roy Blankenship. But Martin's claim to fame was the Dookie mod for Billy Joe Armstrong's 2203 Marshall. I think this amp might be that. It's basically a 2203 Marshall JMP with an eternal boost on it, so it's always open, ready to go, and then it has a depth mod on the back to beef up the bottom end, because those Marshall 800s, they weren't the fattest sounding amp. And it's kind of like his throwback to the 80s and all the mods that he was doing for everyone in the 80s and early 90s. It's a cool amp. It has the similar distortion as this, but it's warmer and fatter, where this is going to be tighter.
These guys feel a bit more British. These feel a bit more American.
Yeah.
But they can kind of tread on each other's territory a little bit.
Just the logo of the Hammersmith street sign right there, But you're right. And if you play them together, it's sweet. It's got a big fat. They have a similar gain structure, so you get that same grind, but they're EQ'd totally different. So this is, going to be brighter, have a lot more attack, where this will fill in than the bottom end, but this will make sure that you keep tight. I like that they light up too. You can't see it, but this gets red and this gets blue.
Yeah, it's they look cool on stage too, but they'll put some muscle. They'll put some muscle on you because they aren't light.
No, if you could see these transformers, they got two I mean, gigantic transformers. They're bigger than most amps transformers.
Yeah.
But I like them. I like that they have a choke for the mid-range, or a choke in there instead of having a diode or something to handle that. I can't remember if it's like the 7,000 hertz or something like that, 7K, but they're solid amps. You know, if you can find them used, you can get a deal on them sometimes. You know, if you get lucky, you could score one in the $800 to $900 range, but usually you're going to be paying, you know, 12 to 1,500 used, sometimes $1,000. Made in the U.S.
They're definitely worth more than I paid for it, but I'm happy that I got the price I did.
Well, no, and the nice thing too is when you buy their amps, you can get a warranty for $160. Ship it to them. They'll go through, fix everything on the amp, or for $300 and something, they'll refurbish the amp to new.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Cool. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about cabs next. So as far as cabinets go, you could have brought a lot of cabs because Dave has a lot of gear, kind of like me. But as far as I know, you've got quite a few 2x12s, 4x12s. What is special about this cabinet to you?
This cabinet to me, it pounds. It's got a lot of bottom end. It projects, and for being a 2x12, it is still kind of punchy like a 4x12 would be. 11 ply birch compared to a lot of amps which are 7. Extra thick front baffle, Celestion V30 English made ones, and the backs on their cabinets are pressure sealed. If you try to get the back off with your hands, it's not happening on any of their amps or cabinets. You have to take the handles off, beat them with a mallet from the inside out. But they're built like tanks, like their heads, they're heavy, you know, so it's nice to have a roadie if you can afford one, but I can't afford one, so I break my back on them.
But it sounds good, so.
Yeah, and you know what, most of the time when you're gigging, you don't need a 4x12. I have, you know, a Diamond 4x12 and it's sweet, but unless I'm playing like the main stage or something big, you know, you're not going to need them. And I find that the 2x12, you know, rocks most clubs as it is. And I don't mind showing up at a gig and being the only dude with a 2x12 and then having people come up to me afterwards like, dang, man, where'd you get that tone, that sound, man? It's big and fat. And part of my big and fat is I don't throw a lot of bass on my stuff and roll over on my bass player. I let him cover the bottom end,
And Wobbs is quite a bass player too. Yeah.
And having his fat tone with a punchy amp or punchy cabinet like that still got some low end rumble, it fills out nice.
Nice. So would you compare that more towards, just to give people that aren't familiar with the Diamond brand, what would you compare that cab to? And what would you not compare that cab to as far as if somebody's going, hey, I know what Marshalls sound like, I know what 5150s sound like, I know what Boogies sound like, the big 3, right?
Yep.
It's like, what's this cab going to do for you that those big 3 won't?
I think, I watched an interview with Jeff Diamond, the old owner of Diamond, and he talked about that as much as he's a Marshall guy, Boogie has seeped its influence into modern amplification with almost pretty much every manufacturer. So he would say he'd be lying if there wasn't a hint of Boogie to things. I'd probably put that cabinet close to the Boogie 2x12s.
Mm-hmm. The rectifier 2x12s.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
Kind of the famous big box rectifier ones.
I think it does a little better in terms of meatiness. It doesn't get as flubby. I don't know if, those, I think the Black Shadow speakers or whatever what they do different to them than a V30, because I think they're based off of the V30, but
yeah.
I guess it'd be kind of like that. You and I know someone that did a shootout with Diamond cab, a Boogie cab, a Vader cab. Yep. You can probably guess who it was, and I think a VHT, and he said he felt it performed better than the Boogie, but the VHT took the cake.
Yeah, as much as I'm a Boogie fan, I own a Boogie 2x12, and I record with it pretty regularly.
Yeah, they're awesome cabinets.
I'm not taking away from it. It's a great cab. You do got to dial around some certain frequencies. That's the truth. But you could say that about a Marshall. You could say that about a 5150. It's just what's there is there, and then you go, well, what do I want, and how do I want to tweak what's already there?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of nice to kind of give people the idea of going, where's my meat and potatoes? I'm going to get that and start there, and then kind of craft your tone using your head, your guitars, your hands, all those things. So
I do have a Vader 2x12, and it's funny how this sounds super bright, and it's harsh through that.
Yeah.
I put it through this thing, and it's full, it's fat, it's got thump. But this here into the Vader has a nasty grind, and it's every amp, different
Cabinets
amps, different
matter.
cabinet combos. Yeah, they totally do. But if you're ever looking for a cabinet, you can sometimes find those used for like $350, and
They're a steal if you can find them.
yeah, they're hard to find, but they're a serious cabinet.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're like $1,300 new.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and let's do pedals next. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do
Yeah,
pedals.
let's do it.
Pedals.
Crack.
People love pedals.
Guitar crack.
Yep, guitar crack. It's like, oh, walk into a guitar store. I'm pretty sure that's how any guitar store survives, is guitar pedals.
Yeah, I know. I used to collect the heck out of them, and then it turned to amps, which was even worse.
Yeah.
Sold all the pedals to get more amps.
Yep. So you've got quite the pedal board. If you want to highlight some, if you want to talk about all of them, feel free. You know,
Sure.
There's a lot of cool stuff on here.
Yeah, a lot of this just stays on all the time. Just to start out, the Sonic Research Turbo Tuner, the fastest, most accurate tuner on the market. Any little touch of your knob, it spins, and it spins right with you turning your knob. And once that rotary stops, you're in tune, and it's perfect. It's quick. Boom. I run a MXR 10 band through the loop just to kind of shape my sound a little bit. Like to darken up my tone. Like I say, I don't rock super deep tunings. I tune down, you know, to D, C, you know.
Yeah.
Drop C or D.
Yeah.
So I just kind of fill it up a little bit. But if you notice, I keep my bottom two on there, the
Yep.
31.25 and 62.5 hertz. Pretty flat. Once again, let the bassist handle those bottom end tones. This little thing, though, is the secret sauce.
Yep.
It's a custom badass modified OD by MXR.
$50 used all day long, if not less.
Yeah, and it's sick. It's designed by George Trips. It's kind of like a green rhino, but meant for metal. It's kind of a Maxon OD 808, but you can tweak the 100 hertz so that way when you boost and you lose that bit of bottom end,
Yep.
you dial that 100 hertz right back in, and maybe bump the 500 hertz. Gets all your low and high mids right there.
So for guitar players scooping the mids, fucking stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, you get more beef and power with
Put
some
it in the
mid-range.
comments. Tell me how much you think I'm wrong. Stop scooping your mids. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and you get lost in the mix,
Yeah.
you know, with all that bottom end.
Yeah.
It's really a great pedal, and it really,
Bring the heat.
yeah, it brings the heat. You know, if I push this on and push on an OD 808, TS 808, the amount of gain, the difference in gain, even if you have both of them set with the gain at 0, it's ridiculous. This thing really drives the amp, and it's not overly bright, so it won't be piercing your ears, and you won't be kind of treading into the cymbal frequency getting washed out because of your drummer cymbals.
Yep.
Sometimes I use this Maxon ST9 Pro Plus Super Tube. These two pedals sound almost exactly alike. This is a little brighter. This is a little darker. This you can control the 100 hertz, where this just has a low boost that boosts that. But this you can control the 500 hertz, where this has a 500 hertz bump.
Yep.
You know, price, just the MXR is way cheaper, and there really isn't much of a difference in tone. Classic MXR Smart Gate.
Needed for high gain.
Yep.
Especially when you're running an overdrive in front of your
Yeah.
high gain amplifier.
Yep. And then this is like the kind of the pedal that I don't know what it does, but I'm not taking it off, the Sonic Stomp by BBE. And it kind of there again, like this 100 hertz, you have a low contour and a process, and one of these hits a certain hertz range of like, I think 300 to 800 hertz, and then the other one hits like 12 to 14. And then you can do the mids, and you can do up to a 14 decibel boost, but not have it like override.
Yep.
You know, even if I crank the low end all the way, my high end's not getting popped out. It's not sounding boomy. But I mean, if you want to bring the fatness into your sound and you can't afford, you know, an Angle or a Dietzel or something, and you turn on your tube screamer or whatever, and it kind of gets thin, this thing right here it'll bring it all back. You wanted to take it off my board when we recorded, I
did.
remembered.
Yeah. I wanted to play with it. I wanted to go like, ooh, where does it start to whistle at me? I wanted to go like, where's the frequency, to be able to find out where it was. So.
And I don't know if it's a compressor or whatever it is. I know they kind of list it as a compressor, but I don't know.
It's basically like, so the at least the way that I understand it, and somebody's going to correct me in the comments, I'm sure, but the way that I understand the wonderful world of the sonic maximizers is they're basically like a sideband compressor
Yeah,
with a really aggressive EQ on certain points.
sure.
So, which makes sense, you know, given how they sound.
Yeah.
I've never looked into specifically what they do. I just go, I like them sometimes, and I don't like them other times based on what I'm recording.
Yeah. They work great for bass. Put them at the end of your signal going into the front of the amp. Never run it through the loop. In my loop, I just run the MXR and my DD3 digital delay. This delay primarily is just on a few leads. Boost with the tube screamer.
Then your modulations, you got your phaser, your chorus, and your flanger.
Yeah, and I run my phaser after my overdrive, like Edward P. McVan Halen. And it gets, the phaser sounds nice like that because you get the gain goes into it, so you get a little extra scratch. Where my flange, I do run through the loop. I forgot, I do run my mods usually through the loop. So my flange and my chorus, I run through a loop. I like Maxon really a lot for module effects.
They're great pedals.
I like to buy vintage ones because vintage module effects don't have volume drop problems that you get in more modern pedals. I did that boutique pedal for years, and I've kind of come back to like the
Tried
old
and
bands.
true.
Yeah. I mean, why am I spending $300 for a knockoff on a tube screamer where Maxon builds all their own components in their pedal? They're not outsourcing parts. I know I'm getting the real deal. And does the $300 one really sound that much better? I don't know, considering this modified OD that I picked up for $39. Slices most overdrive pedals that I've messed with. Oh, and then
Last but not least,
the Morley Lead Wah has a little extra range than most of the Morley 2020 series for sweep. They've gotten rid of any problems where outside light interference can come in and mess with your lighting diode, so you don't lose your wah playing outdoor gigs. Smaller footprint for a Morley. It's a bad wah. You know, if you're playing funk, it gets extra scratch. If you're playing lead, you can get some big dramatic sweeps on it. I mean, I've had guys literally, what's that wah? And then the next gig that they're playing, I've seen, oh, there's that wah.
Yeah.
And magically the modified OD. Yeah. And some people end up getting these amps too afterwards, but you know.
Yeah, some people find one for cheap after they recorded that band a week later.
Wasn't someone going to sell his modified OD?
No, I decided against it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was using it too much. I'm like, the next time I plugged it in, I'm like, this is dumb. I'm keeping it. So anyway, there you go. Pedal nerds, enjoy. Comment the shit out of everything we told you that's wrong. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Congratulations. Make those comments. It helps my algorithm, fucko. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and talk about guitars, all right?
All right, sounds good.
All right, so like I said, I do PRS. Dave does DBZ. So let's talk about some DBZs.
Sure. This is a 2009 DBZ Cavallo. You know, the evolution of the old Dean headstock.
Yep.
Kind of a little more sinister. Has these sexy routes in the body, so when the light shines off of it, it kind of gives it a image of flames. Yep. It's kind of based off the old 70s Gibson V2s where they routed the edges. I think they had a route here. I don't know if they had the second route, but Dean or DBZ threw the routes on these afterwards. Really great fretwork on them. They have a soft V neck, so it's like a 50s Fender, but they sanded it down and it sits really comfortable in your hand. Your thumb never gets tired no matter how you're rocking it or holding it. Got the V, kind of like an old Cadillac. This is Ferrari red. Mm-hmm. They have a whole car series. Lambo yellow,
Yep.
Ford blue,
Yep.
Dukes of Hazzard orange.
Yep.
And then for the pickups in it, their normal standard pickups are great. Actually, they're like 15 ohms or hertz. Is it ohms? I think it's ohms with pickups. But these are some bare knuckle Miracle Man pickups. They're 18 ohms, super high output. They do not sound like an EMG, but they push like an EMG. They're what I had in the Hailfire when we recorded. Yep. And they get a lot of harmonics, a lot of overdrive, and they will never flub on you. So this would be the drop D guitar or drop C guitar live.
Yeah.
Because they stay tight on the bottom end.
For sure. Well, let's talk about another DBZ.
Ford Blue.
Car series continues.
Yes, and I grew up in a Ford family, so when it came to muscle cars, it was Ford. This has another variation on that headstock. It's supposed to be the metal horns.
The old Ronnie.
Yep. Same.
Ronnie James Dio invented it. I think that's been proven at this point.
Yeah, if he didn't, he did in my book.
Yeah.
There again, you got the routes. This one, though, is a little special. It's got Paul Reed Smith pickups. PRS metal. Mm-hmm. They're not as high output or overdrive as the Miracle Man ones. And I don't like bare knuckles a whole lot. I will say the Miracle Man, though, they don't have that weird kind of mid-range or whatever it is that I don't like in most bare knuckles. They're pretty balls out.
Most of those are good for like really low tunings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Miracle Man does anything in the neck pickup on it. Sounds vintagey. These PRS metals, very flat EQ'd. They're not over the top on overdrive. They're high output, but they're not over the top on the output, so you don't get a lot of line noise. I almost feel like I don't need my gate, but yet it still pushes the heck out of the amp. They thump.
Yeah.
They're not as saturated as the HFS ones, but super beautiful sounding. And the thing I love about them for being a metal pickup, I'm not solely a metal guy. I play a lot of funk, blues, southern rock,
Play some country.
classic rock, country.
Yep.
With my fellow banjo player here. But you can rock.
Badly.
Yeah, and these things sound like vintage pickups if you are playing on an old amp or you dial back the gain. It's not like a lot of metal pickups where they only sound good playing metal, and then you go and try to do some clean channel stuff, and you can't.
Yeah.
You know, great pickup. Highly recommend them for anyone. Probably spent more on the pickups than the guitar, but hey.
Well, let's. So this one's a kind of a new one for you to get away from DBZ for a hot second.
Yeah,
But
I do have other interests.
Yep.
This is a new one. I actually sold a Diamond, which is what DBZ became, same company, and got this. It's a 2023 Gibson SG, limited edition. I think it's a Guitar Center special.
It's a Guitar Center exclusive.
Yep, silver burst sparkle, but you can see if you could get close up, you could see that you can actually see the wood grain and the depth of the wood grain, not just the look of it. But it has an ebony fretboard,
which is nice.
Yeah, SGs come with rosewood, so that kind of, I don't know. I guess that's what sold me on it. But it's a mean mother chucker, and PRS metal pickups. The 490 rhythm pickup in the neck that the SG normally has, great pickup. Beautiful, can't complain about it. But the 492 bridge pickup has a nice sinister sound, but it's just sharp and bright and feedy-backy.
People always talk about, because I own a Les Paul, but I'm more of an SG person when it comes to Gibsons. I just always preferred the body style. Black Sabbath fan, sorry.
Same here.
It's it is what it is. But a lot of people always talked about, the pickups always seem so shrill, that kind of thing. I would always say to people that I'm like, well, the guitar is pretty perfect other than that bridge pickup.
Yeah.
So pop something else in it, you'll never put the guitar down.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. And I'll say that 490 rhythm pickup on the neck.
Yeah.
If you're a jazz and blues guy, I mean, country is super sexy pickup, but that 490T, it's great on these 4 strings, but these 2 strings right there, it hurts my ears.
Yeah. Well, let's get the. Hey, we're gonna go back to the DBZ world here.
Yeah, this one here is actually kind of my main guitar for the band.
You're Zach Wild.
Yeah, it's a Bolero. And it's kind of a weird transition time when Dean cut ways with the company, as he does with most companies. He sold off the DBZ brand to the amp side, which were Diamond. So this is a DBZ Diamond. Made in Korea, just like your LTDs and PRS SEs and all that, same factory.
Yep.
But if it has that double name, it's almost like it means the guitar costs $200 to $300 used. So grab it. It plummets the price, but EMGs, they have a mahogany body. This has a maple veneer, but I do know with DBZ, they actually do put a maple cap on their stuff, unlike most import guitars where it's just going to be a veneer. This thing plays sweet. The neck is beefy. It has an acoustic style heel, sanded down to be like a set neck with a long tenon. It sustains. I got this thing for like $319 at Guitar Center in mint condition, and I write and record and practice on it. And
Leslie West played them.
Yeah.
So there.
I tried to put it down. It's not like my favorite looking guitar in the world. I think it has a nice grain, and for a Les Paul, with the routing and stuff, they try to make it fun, but it always ends up being the one like, I'm going to play this one guitar live.
Yeah.
And then you see me once again on stage with this thing.
Yeah.
So.
It's a killer guitar.
Yeah, you played it.
I did.
Yeah.
And I've seen quite a bit of Dave's collection over the years. There's quite a few more, but much like our good friend Rob Carlson, Shred Den Pay Us, was if we were to do a whole video on his entire collection, we'd be here for a week. So this is just a small little chunk of it, but hopefully you enjoyed checking them out. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm sure you loved all that long-winded gear talk about all things Diamond and DBZ. So, Dave, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Be sure to check out Callus Soul, and remember, you need to record something, come here. It's going to be great.
1459.